Okay, so I'm going to do a review of Logan up front, and then I'm going to go into an analysis. So I'll do the non-spoiler section first, talk about this movie, and then I'll go into the thematic elements and kind of like what I took out of the film or the things that I noticed that were parallels to other media, specifically the Western Shane. So, Logan is a 2017 film directed by James Mangold. I picked this up from the library. I finally got around to watching it, and it's there's no way around saying this. It's super violent. I mean, he dismembers people in this film, and there is quite a bit of adult language, so that could be a turn off to a lot of people right away. But I will say that I still enjoyed this despite all of that. It will drop my overall rating of the film, though, from a 5 to a 4. I think that this movie was on the verge of greatness, but it just went a little too over the top, and I think unnecessarily. I think James Mangold was just trying to be a bit of an edgelord in this. So thematic ties, it would be beneficial to have some knowledge of the X-Men, specifically the character of Wolverine, going into this movie. I don't know how much a non-fan of X-Men is going to get out of this, so I think that can be a limitation to it. But I think that this movie, a lot of people have said it transcends the superhero genre. I think maybe in the same way that Sam Peckinpah's film The Wild Bunch kind of put the exclamation point on the end of the Western. I really think that this movie represents the end of the superhero genre in a way that other films have not. So I would kind of put it in that place as far as shock value and everything else. So 4 out of 5. But if you're squeamish, you don't like super bloody stuff, and you don't like language, this probably isn't for you. Now I'm going to go into the spoiler section and talk about themes that I took out of this movie. So if you don't want to hear any of that, this is your chance to bail out now, because I'm going into spoiler territory. All right, you've been warned. Okay, so thematically, Wolverine has always been an anti-hero character thrust into a team of heroes, and that's what causes a lot of the tension between him and characters, say, such as Cyclops. This is very apparent in Days of Future Past when Wolverine is talking to Magneto and he says, "You're like me, you're a survivor." It very much shows you that Wolverine has always been kind of the cowboy, the loner of the group, so it makes sense to literally take those cowboy themes and bring them into his character to make a neo-Western. A movie set in modern day that has Western tropes and themes in it. And it ties directly into Jack Schaefer's book, Shane. We all know Wolverine's past, that he was created as a weapon. You know, he was actually called Weapon X. And Stryker did that to him. That's how he got his adamantium bonded to his skeleton. Now we find out in Logan that the adamantium is actually poisoning his blood, and that Logan is slowly dying as a result of this. He's not healing like he used to, and he's just getting sick. He's slow, he's tired, his claws don't come out as fast as they used to. This all shows the breakdown of his body and his descent into death. We see him drinking, and he gets into a fight with some guys at the beginning of the film that are damaging his car, and just goes full beast mode. So we're talking about this theme of a weapon, and this ties to Shane. Shane is talking to Bob in this book, and he says, "Listen, Bob." Now Bob in the film is renamed Joey, but he says, "A gun is just a tool, no better and no worse than any other tool. A shovel or an axe or a saddle or a stove or anything. Think of it always that way. A gun is as good and as bad as the man who carries it. Remember that." So we have this theme of choice, that a weapon, ultimately wielded by a person, is what makes it good or bad. It's how the person who wields the weapon chooses to be. Now this ties right back into Wolverine and his choice about what kind of life he's going to live. And there's actually a scene in this movie where the characters are watching the movie Shane. Now, Wolverine has a daughter. She's a clone of him named Laura, and she also has been created to be a weapon, X-23. And so there's this whole theme about what Logan is going to do. Is he going to take care of himself, or is he going to sacrifice himself or give of himself for others? He's offered a choice as to how to take control and move his life. And this very much comes up in the scene where, in an extremely lucid moment, Patrick Stewart's character, Professor X, talks to Logan while they are staying in the home of some people that they helped. It's a Christian family. And this family they pray together at the meal. They're very polite. You can tell that there's a lot of love in the home. And it's something that Professor very much wants Wolverine to experience. And he says, "You know, Logan, this is what life looks like. A home, people who love each other, safe place. You should take a moment and feel it." Very, very good wisdom from this fatherly character, Logan's surrogate father. And it's something that is going to pay off at the end of the movie. There is another particular scene from the book that's also in the movie Shane, which the parallels between these are unavoidable, where Shane is talking to the young boy again, and he says here, "Bob," and he says, "Yes, Shane. A man is what he is, Bob, and there's no breaking the mold. I've tried that, and I've lost. But I reckon it was in the cards from the moment I saw a freckled kid on a rail up the road, there, and a real man behind him. The kind that could back him for the chance another kid never had. But Shane, there's no going back from a killing, Bob. Right or wrong, the brand sticks and there's no going back. It's up to you now. Go home to your mother and father. Grow strong and straight and take care of them, both of them. Yes, Shane." So there's this theme of choice again. Does a brand stick? Can a man change who he is? And I have to say, this is the theme that's in the film, because at the very end, if you think back to what Professor X said about, Logan, this is what life looks like, a home, people who love each other, safe place, you should take a moment to feel it. Wolverine, Logan, decides in his last act to sacrifice himself to save these mutant children, including his daughter, Laura. He ends up having to fight essentially himself. So there's very powerful symbolism there about the war between, the passions, the animalistic nature of people, and the self. And Jonathan Peugeot's done a very wonderful presentation on this on the Symbolic World. I will link that in the description box so you can go watch it. But while he's dying, having sacrificed himself to save Laura and the mutant children, Laura calls him Daddy for the first time in the movie. And Logan replies, "So this is what it feels like," which takes us back to what Professor X says about you should take a moment to feel it, what it feels like to be safe, what it feels like to have a family. Then, as he's dying, his very last words to Laura, who, remember, has been created to be a weapon, just like Wolverine. He says to her, "Don't be what they made you." This very powerful theme of choice about, again, going back to Shane, about a gun being as good or bad as the person that wields it. Laura has a choice now to be what she wants to be. And in the closing scenes of the movie, we see her taking the cross that's on Wolverine's grave and tipping it over, and to form the X. Shows that she wants to be, and she wants to remember Wolverine as an X-Men, but that she doesn't want to be an anti-hero like he is. That she wants to be a hero, which is what the X-Men represents. And it's very, very likely that this group of children is going to go off and be the X-Men of the future. So we have this cycle of death and life, of choosing which way you're going to go. I think that the film really has a theme of redemption in it, and some really strong Christian messaging mixed in with all of the carnage and violence. So overall, I think that this movie is pretty good. The violence is a bit much for me, and I think the language is a little over the top, which keeps it from being a 5-star film and drops it down to a 4. But that's my analysis of it. Like I said, I will link the Jonathan Pajau Symbolic World analysis of this movie in the description box. I think it's very good. I think that you should check it out. All right, thank you for watching. God bless. Have a wonderful day.